All right, everyone, welcome to Bayou Time. And on Saturday, we saw what really is the physical culmination of a very tragic story, although this story will live on for many, many years to come. And it's the story of Ezekiel Harry. A procession was formed on Saturday in Thibodaux. Joining me now, the city marshal of Thibodaux, Mr. Calvin Cooks. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Mort, and I'd like to thank you for the invitation for inviting me here this afternoon.
Absolutely. And I thought you would be good at sort of bringing this from a law enforcement to a personal standpoint because, and as we roll the footage in, we have several bits of footage we're going to roll in. And Dwayne Dupre was there. He got some footage on the streets of Thibodaux. There you see it, and also drone footage you'll see later in the program. But just from your standpoint, Calvin, I'm sure this had to be touching from a law enforcement standpoint also.
Yes, it was. When we first learned of the incident, it was very shocking, and you can see the social media posts, started getting phone calls, and just, people were concerned and wanted to know what really happened. Of course, we was not the investigating agency, so I was not going to call the Houma Police Department to get details of the incident. We just don't do that. They're very busy. They don't have time to juggle phone calls about what's going on. But people were very concerned. And then when we learned that the 2-year-old baby Ezekiel Harry was from Thibodaux, then it was just a very touching situation.
We always call ourselves sister cities because as we look at the footage, Houma and Thibodaux so close in proximity. And of course, the horrific tragedy took place in Houma, but the burial and the procession was in Thibodaux. Have you ever seen so many motorcycles in your life, and dune buggies?
I tell you, I arrived on the scene at the church probably about 9 o'clock that morning, and the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office was already there. I set up my transport vehicle, and one reason I bought the transport bus out there, I knew it was going to be hot. I knew there was going to be a lot of people there. We have air conditioning there, and it was somewhere for a place for some people to cool off if they needed to. And just that, it happened. We had, I estimate, over 400 motorcycles. I've never seen that many motorcycles in one place before. And I tell you, all nice people from all around, probably from different states. And so we accommodated them by allowing them to go inside the bus and sit and cool off and get a drink of water, because they came down for a reason, because they were concerned. And everybody's concerned. Listen, good families, the Harry family and the Jones family, I know them both, and they are good people. It just was an unfortunate situation.
And while we're talking about that, as we look at the motorcycles passing by, Dwayne Dupre was there. He was in the heat too, and a gentleman named Tracy Brubacher, owner of Gary's in Thibodaux, called him over and allowed him to get a little shade, get a little water or refreshment. So we want to thank Tracy Brubacher for that. You were talking about nice people, and that struck a nerve with me because he didn't have to do it, but he did. But I think this, let's call it a procession, because that's really what it is, but also the whole incident has brought a lot of people together.
Yes, it has. Our community is resilient, and sometimes it takes things that happen, bad things that bring people together. But it shows that we do have a love for each other. It didn't matter what color you were; they were there, and they were feeling pain just like the families were feeling pain. Everybody was concerned. Even the church, there was so many people that was slated to come there. We were tasked with providing security inside the church, the Thibodaux City Marshal's office. And we assisted also Thibodaux Police Department and the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office with traffic outside of the church and with the actual funeral procession. And I believe I saw some Houma police motorcycles there, if I'm not mistaken.
They were there. And, we're going to end the video in this segment. We'll come back and show more in the second segment. But let me ask you this. When you see these processions and some of the biggest, burliest kind of guys on these motorcycles, and you realize that some of those biggest guys on those motorcycles sometimes are some of the nicest human beings around.
Listen, sometimes people misjudge other people because they have tattoos. I call them gentle giants, and they were very nice people on those motorcycles, male and female. Very nice people, and they were very concerned.
Is this unusual? I mean, I would think it's unusual because we don't often hear about a 2-year-old going through what he went through, and I'm sure the trial is going to bring out a lot of this as we move forward. But from a law enforcement standpoint, what does it do to you all in law enforcement? How does it make you react?
Well, Martin, we're human too. So we have feelings also. A lot of times we don't show those emotions on the scene because we're doing different things, picking up evidence, trying to determine what happened, who was the perpetrator. But when we go home, we start experiencing those emotions sometimes.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, police officers are human. We have the same feelings you have. So sometimes it's hard. Sometimes police officers may have to talk to somebody when they see a situation. When police officer that responded to the scene when the 2-year-old baby was located and what they saw. It could be devastating sometimes.
How many things you can describe this gathering? It could be a parade of life because although the young boy only saw 2 years, the fact that indirectly he brought everybody together is really something to see. And as we roll in that footage, again, we'll continue where we left off, and then we'll show you drone footage at the end. Of course, your city marshal's office was involved, but like you said before, we saw people from the Houma Police Department, people from the Sheriff's Department, Shriners, motorcycle clubs. This was certainly a sight to behold.
Yes, it was. And we always work closely with the Thibodeau Police Department, Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office, any other local agency, federal or state. That's what we do. But on this day, I can tell you, I was just surprised. I was ecstatic, and everybody was so nice. We had one guy from a motorcycle club. He was pulling a trailer, and he had some drinks. And he wanted to know where he needed to go, so we was able to turn him around and put him on a medium where the majority of the motorbikes were so he can distribute drinks to everybody, So everybody worked closely, the deputies from the sheriff's office, Thibodeau Police Department, they had the cones out. They had so many motorbikes arriving when the funeral was getting ready to start, they had to even open up another lane to allow motorcycles to park. So you had one lane blocked off going south and one lane blocked off going north on Canal Boulevard. And then you had a parade of people just wanting to see. They can see the live videos, so they wanted to come out and ride. It was almost like Mardi Gras in Thibodeau.
Yeah, and you see the dune buggies, and now they've stopped on the motorcycles here. But let me ask you this, Calvin, logistically, I'm sure it presents logistical problems for traffic, but I would tend to think or hope to think that people, although they get stuck in a little traffic on an occasion like this, would tend to take a deep breath and go, okay, for a great cause.
This was different.
Yeah.
You have motorists that get aggravated because of traffic jams and somebody's holding up traffic. They may be on their cell phone and, they start blowing the horn. You may get some road rage. Everybody was completely nice this past Saturday, and the people that came into the area, if they wasn't involved in coming to the funeral or in the procession on a motorcycle, they just wanted to see. They heard the phones were ringing, people were calling, you need to get out to the Moses Baptist Church, you ought to see this. So people just wanted to see. And earlier you mentioned Tracy Brubaker, how he allowed some employees from HTV to come inside of his establishment. Guess what? His father and him has been doing that for many, many years for Mardi Gras. And his father passed away. He was a good friend of mine, Mr. Gary. And me and Tracy are good friends, and we still talk. But his father allowed people that was attending the parade to come into the bathroom, and they had a line to come into the store to buy things, and they had a line to come into the store to use the restroom. So this shows what type of people the Brubakers are.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the line continues to go on. And Calvin, you made a great point. All races, all walks of life, all different kind of people getting together. And I always say, sometimes it's a shame we need a catalyst like this to get us together, but sometimes that's what it takes. But when we're together, this was a great learning experience, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And it brought a lot of people together from a lot of different areas. And, it's sometimes you can almost say it's sad that it takes something like this to bring people together. But again, I say we are resilient. And when people are hurting, other people generally care and they want to come in and be involved in what can I do to help you? What can I do to calm you down and just to help y'all move forward?
Yeah. And you mentioned it was sort of like a parade as we're going to roll out of this video. And on the next segment, we'll show you some drone footage. But it is like a parade, but unfortunately, there's a burial at the end. So it almost makes you put things in perspective. But from a reality standpoint, you're hearing all the motorcade, and it would probably feel like a parade of life. But then unfortunately, the reality, not soon afterwards. And I guess that's when it comes to the reality of what really took place.
Yes, it does. And it's a lot for both families to handle, the Jones family and the Harry family. You had people actually set up on the sides of the road, just like a Mardi Gras parade because they wanted to see. So the family, when this whole ordeal started, they went through a lot in the entire process and up until the baby was buried. And now it is over, but it's a lot for them, the process.
Yeah. And I'm sure as the procession was passing, I heard a lot of people were in prayer also.
Yes, they were. Yes, a lot of people were in prayer, and again, people were saddened, and they just wanted to see how they can show their support, to the family, whether it be monetary donations or bringing food in or just their appearance, at the event.
And that's one thing we've never been ashamed to put God on our channel. And when we see that, we keep putting it on because we really need him.
Martin, listen, I know I'm blessed. I've been a police officer over 30 years, and over 30 years, God has kept me safe. And I retired from the Thibodeau Police Department in 2020, and now I'm back in law enforcement as an elected city marshal.
All right, let's talk a little bit more, and I want to roll in some more footage if we can. Eventually, we're going to get to the drone shots and the aerial shots of the burial area. And it's important to let people see this because I don't want to end it on it's a parade of life, but it's still it's a solemn parade, but the reality of it follows this. And this is going to be crucial. Not only, Calvin, in showing the audience what actually took place, but at some point, you got to have some closure. You got to find a place in your heart and your soul to have some closure. It doesn't mean the memories go away, but you got to put it in perspective. And the perspective, unfortunately, is that a young 2-year-old lost his life, and the tragedy that's going to follow in the court cases and everything else, we're going to have to go through it. But at least you could give a memorial service that has some meaning behind it.
Yes, you can. And the problem is that it doesn't stop here. The 2-year-old baby has been buried. Now it has to go to court. Now families have to, relive what happened. If the person goes to trial, or they may take a plea bargain. If they take a plea bargain, then that's no trial. But if they don't, they have to go to trial. You have to have testimony. And that hurts a lot of families.
And certainly it's going to be in the court system here in Terrebonne Parish as we continue to watch some of the procession that took place in the city of Thibodeau. And as you could tell, look, we even had the horses. I saw that. We had a little bit of everything in this.
Yes, we did, Martin. I didn't get a chance to go to the actual grave site because I was tasked with, in front of the church, just getting everything lined up and making sure there wasn't any other vehicle traffic that got involved with the procession, with the motorcycles, and then came along the horses. So, but I had deputies that went out there that was in the procession, and they told me that you had the same activity over there. There was a large crowd, and you had mourners. People were, praying, people were crying, and they were being real supportive of the families, both families, the Jones and the Harry. Again, good people.
And here we look at the aerial shot, and this is really the reality of it. And once again, our condolences to the entire family, all the family connected with this tragedy. But unfortunately, in our business, reality is what we have to report and show you the reality of it. And we don't want this community to forget what took place because in the end, everyone wants justice. Now, justice will come in the court system, and I guess we also want justice. The victims, the family, the ones who are still around and living, who had to go through this, it's really justice for them. But I think in this case, it's justice for an entire community.
Yes, it is. I mean, again, everybody's hurting, not just the families, their friends, just people. The information I saw on social media, people that was responding and wanting to help, and I saw when the post came out about wanting to get motorcycles involved in the procession. I didn't think it was going to be over 400 motorcycles. I thought, well, maybe, I don't know, 50 or 60 motorcycles, just maybe some of the clubs in Thibodeau, but I can tell you they had riding clubs from all over, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, and as we look at the final seconds of the resting place for Ezekiel Harry, it's really sad, but all we can do as a media outlet is to continue to bring you information as it moves along in the court system, and of course we will continue to bring you in hopes of complete and total justice for the family. But once again, I want to thank Mr. Calvin Cook Sr., the city marshal, for being here. Just with the last minute and a half, if you don't mind, how are things going with the marshal's office?
Everything's going great. We took office last year in January 2021. We've been transparent. I've done everything I said I was going to do during the campaign. My deputy marshal in uniform. Then marked cars. You can see one of the units was in the procession for baby Ezekiel Harry. Yeah. We're now transporting prisoners. We've been to Texas to pick up a prisoner. We are unlocking vehicles. We're giving scholarships away every year. So, we've done everything that I've campaigned about, but, it's not just me, it's my office. I can't do it alone. I got to have good people working for me, and I have that.
You did promise that during the campaign, and I must say, you're delivering.
Yes.
Yeah, and I appreciate the ride from Thibodeau. And don't be a stranger. You know how to get here. Boy, it was cloudy when you were coming in today, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'll be back.
All right, the rain was threatening, and hopefully we'll see you on better circumstances. And good luck, and thank you so much for what you're doing. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Martin.
Always a thumbs up for law enforcement.
I appreciate you, too.
All right, thank you. All right, the city marshal in Thibodeau, Louisiana, Calvin Cook Sr., we appreciate him coming. We'll keep you posted on this story as it continues to move along in the court system, in hopes that somewhere along the way, everyone in the communities of Houma and Thibodeau and the surrounding areas will find closure. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more.